I said, I want to get it straight right away. When he came home, he said if he would listen to Allah, he wouldn't have did all the time he did. Because Allah told him the right thing to do, and as we do sometimes, we go the law. But he came back strong. He and I met in the Bronx. It was Latin night at 67. Latin night. He was clean, and me and this brother named Sabu. He loved to make sure he was the first Sabu. He changed his name to Gumar. Anyway, Allah walks up, he hears me and him going through the lessons a little bit. Allah said, I love the way you brothers are built. My name, I think at that time, Hakeem. He said, this and that. And I'm going to be with you brothers up to come to Peter on that. Do you have any change? I got to go back to Mecca. Oh, now his name is now Shabu. Reach for his pocket quicker than anybody. I never saw him reach that. I said, Allah B really reached you. But Allah B reminded me of a brother named Colleen, the first Colleen. His name was Colleen Sickle. Barrel chested, dressed nice, deep voice, like the barrel back there. Yeah, that guy. Anyway, when he spoke, he brought that good brother to mind, and it made me feel at home because he was from Mecca and I was from the Bronx. I mean, Mecca, but going to school in the Bronx. So life goes on. Fast forward. After the father was assassinated, we all came together for school and to take the school out of state. I went to the University of Massachusetts after I graduated in the 70s. While up there, Dumar was a very good friend of his that knew each other from back in the block. And they were tight because they had roots in Florida. Plus, they loved to dance. Allah B came home and danced so much when he got home from jail. I called him a floor lord. This was an affection. I said, you become a real floor lord now. He would dance for hours now. I said, you're making it all up for a long time. One thing I give him credit, we both was able to go. God Supreme had tickets to go see the President of the United States, some hookup he had. So I come, me and God supposed to go. I come down from Massachusetts clean and everything. God says, I'm sick, man. I can't go. I said, God, this is the President. We cannot miss this. He said, well, here's 2 tickets, go to the school, get a brother. No. I go to the school, I said, God, I got tickets. Go see the President. Who want to go? 5 brothers went out the door immediately. One of us said, I'll go if I can go get my suit. I said, well, go get it. We went to 146th Street. He gets his suit, we get down to the Commodore Hotel. We see the Secret Service all around the building. I said, Bowen, I ain't going in yet. I said, I gotta have a drink and smoke a joint. Back to that. You don't know after doing that. And a little man comes to us and puts his arm around both of us. I said, Bowen, check it if we got love. Let me see your ticket. We showed him the ticket. He said, these are for real. He said, y'all sit at that table right there, table 9. It's in 71. All of a sudden, people assemble. There's black people looking at us like, who are you? They got jewelry on, big stuff. We got on suits, and I got on like sports jacket with some matching shoes. Like, we look like we're going to the Palladium. Everybody's in black tie. They're wondering, who is these 2 knees, you know? So, when it comes down, we have the guest of honor table. And everybody's dancing around us. People looking at who it is. One night, the white lady asked what my flag was. I said, God power over the sun, moon, and stars. God said, you see how the effect is hitting them, God. So I told him, no matter what, let's not separate from each other. We're not going to lose eyes from each other. We're going to set back to that. After champagne they was bringing us, they were bringing people to dance with us. So one time a little baby came up and presented flowers in front of us. I stood up and clapped. The whole place got to get up and clap. We never knew this type of formality. So He said, watch this one. The next baby came up, he got up, and people had to get up. Let's fast forward. All of a sudden we're talking and now we're dancing with the people. This rich guy saying, y'all can get on my plane. His name was Ali. He can fly to Arabia now. They can't do nothing to me. Oh, they said, is he Muslim? They said, born, all of a sudden I see two dudes walking on the way. I said, where y'all going with my brother? They shook, Born shook. He came back to me and said, I don't know what got into me, man. And I said, you can't leave with these Secret Service. So this one girl, Maribel Rusa, came beautiful from the Pan American Circus. They made me dance with her because we had my body. So at the end of it, I said, can I escort you to your room? She said, well, I'm from Spain and in our country, that's not our custom. Born said, I tell you in America. And that's our custom, man. The Secret Service dude looked at me and just shook his head laughing. Fast forward again. I go to see Born one time in Piedmont. All of a sudden, people are against him. He came to Mass when they burned our house down and killed a brother and me back here. So I said, let me see what's happening in the front. Boy, I get there, there's about 2,000 people outside trying to come into school to kill Born. I'm like, what's going on? What did you do? He said, I'm just teaching. We got through that. I had to almost fight Mitch Green. It was crazy. The next week, they take Born away for the time being. I go visit him in 80. This is like 8 years later. About 40 of us went up there. They were so shocked, so many 5%ers came to prison to visit him. They moved him again the next night. When we came and get back to now, because I could go on, he had an operation. And I told him, we're going to back you up. We're not leaving. They said, the operation should take about 4 hours. 8 hours went by. We sitting there. There's people on the list. People are dying. They're coming out saying, your people are dead. Oh, no. We're like, Born's going to hang in. It comes to 14 hours he's on the operating table. They had to separate his lung from his back. Because the scab is the man lived a lot of life. Yes, he did. One of the things he lived for was his daughter, Elijah. He defied death 10 years. People died. 14th hour, I'm ready to go 1485 all the way. Where's my brother? When I get up to stand up, a dude comes out with a full rack, goggles and everything, like a surgeon. Say, beast dog. I'm like, what the hell is going on? He said, I'm in there with Born. He's holding on. He'll be out soon. This and that. We're going to get out the next day. First thing Born asked us how the recovery room. Did the Knicks play yet? I said, oh, the Knicks played yesterday. They played 2 days. Oh, man. But to make things short, because I know many people want to speak, the man left a good legacy in his life. The people here show that he left positive things after he came home. He made up for the time that he did. He served his time for what he did. We raised a lot of hell and we raised a lot of heaven too. Miss him, but I'm always here to support. But I'll be here for a larger day in the family. The whole Gucci party. And finally, one of the strongest things I saw that man, when he gave the performance of his life for his son passing away. I have lost a son, so I know the feeling. What he did, what he mustered, and how he carried on building, that man gave us show. His love for his son, he kept his strength, kept his back. So in that, I want that strength to be remembered, but that will go. We'll see you all later.
Thank you, God. Peace. I need to share one of the last stories. Actually, the day that we met with the lawyer, and he gave me authority to hold this ceremony, so to say. He told me about the strongest man he ever met in his life. He told me his name was Allah. He said, God, I was walking down 127th Street with a girl, and I see a law coming out the hole. Then somebody else comes, going into the hole. And somebody comes out and says, "They're looking for you, they got guns in there." And the law says, "Go get the guard center." So Allah B, being who he is, tells the girl, "Go get the guards," and goes down there and stands by Allah. He told me, "Yo, God, you think I'm strong?" The first thing I thought is like, what? We ain't gonna go get our guns? Allah B told me straight up, he said, somebody invite me to a gunfight, I'm getting my gun. Allah didn't even think about that. And that was the strength he admired. Like I admire the strength he had. Because I tell you, like Alim just said, he told me many times, I'm just holding on for Allah. Straight up. Allah Janae, you're the legacy, baby. So, there's a brother I haven't seen yet who was one of Allah B's or Born Allah's first student in Pelon. His name is Hakeem. Okay, so we're gonna I haven't seen Hakeem, so we're gonna call the next person who's Allah Shasha, but Allah Shasha is not feeling well, so we're gonna move right along to beloved Allah. Peace. Peace.
First, it's so beautiful to meet all your hearts and we have a long history together through a long period. But I just wanted to start out by saying that this is the resurrection. Our lessons teach us is that the resurrection is not a physical one, but it is a mental one. And what we're doing now is we're lifting this one, all these experiences, everything we've lived for the last 40, 50, 70 years. So I want to tell you my history with this one. My history with this one. So a lot of people know that Allah B was associated with the history of Mecca, the history of Pelon, but very few know that he was also vital in the history of the desert. Back in 1961, Allah B and Prince Allah, his name was Akim at the time, they were together, they founded the Educational Show and Program. Allah B went up north in he got his prime in 1971, he went up north in 1973. And then finally, so Prince Allah was still in the desert, and he was teaching all of us. We were all in myself, our Savior. There's a number of guys from the desert back in those old days that was Prince Allah's students. And the teaching was family, education, everything that Allah be taught. So finally, in 1975, I was 19 years old. I had never knew him when he was on the street. And Prince Allah and them, they would go up to visit him in prison on the weekends. But this one time, Prince Allah and Law Education, Law Culture, they weren't able to go. So me and Law Rule went up. December 28, 1975. We traveled up to Dannemora Ultimate Correctional Facility. It was 2 feet over snow. Those were the times when you went up the night before and they put you up overnight. So we got up there at night, 11 o'clock at night, we slept, got up in the morning. The bus took us over to the prison. 2 feet of snow on the ground. It was real cold. You see that guard tower, walls 20 feet. We went into the prison, and we had this great visit with this brother. First day I met him. And the visiting room was in an old cell block. It was 3 tiers tall, an old abandoned cell block. They had a long table down the center of the cell block, and cells going up 3 levels on both sides. So we were building the whole time. Allah B was telling us all the history that you've been hearing here, about Harlem Prep, about Pondrac, about meeting the Father. He was teaching us our lessons, and we did that over years through letters. But at the end of that prison, I said to this brother, I said, damn, I don't never want to do a place like this. And he said to me, God, you don't have to. We're doing this so you can do your job on the outside. I'll tell you, hey. And from there, I stepped to my job, came out, that was my first semester here at college. Ended up going to engineering, getting into Columbia University, starting a career in engineering, joining one of the large engineering, or really joining a mid-sized firm and growing it into a large firm, 500-person firm, became a partner in that firm, and then just recently left that firm, and we had this powerful system who's in the construction industry. Her name is Cheryl McKissick Daniel. You may have seen her on TV. But me and her joined forces, and we launched a new engineering firm, Legacy Engineers, where we're going to be training young black youth in engineering and employing them also, and having them more blacks in the engineering field. Being taught us through the years, so those next 23 years after I met him, from 1973 to 1975 to 1998, when he got out, we stayed in touch. And we had great moments up there. 1980, October 10th, we took a whole busload of dogs and dogs up there to former correctional facility. A lot of these things was, he was always talking about equalizing the laws magnetic. And so I couldn't wait to see him that day. But just on a regular visit, when I would go up to see him, he would be really pumped and positive. So when we took these 50 guards and earths, elders in the nation, a lot of the new guards and earths who had never met him before, I just couldn't wait to see what his energy was going to be like. And when I got up there that day, this brother was the blackest that I've ever seen him in life.
Cool knowledge.
Yes.
Don't say black. Cool knowledge.
So he would teach us all lessons through letters. He would build on what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. And he would break it down that rain is plain wisdom, that's meant for the babies. Snow is soft wisdom, that's meant for the black women. Hail is cold wisdom, that's meant for the black man.
Yeah, I was here.
And earthquakes is deadly wisdom, that's meant
My
for
physical. Yeah. That's my physical over here too.
So, 1998, the brother comes home. He comes out of prison. At the time, my office was on Broadway in 24th Street. He came straight to that corner, and we met him. And then Bilal is going to come up here and speak in a couple of minutes. He worked on 56th Street, 55th Street. He was in the entertainment field, and he worked on 55th Street and Broadway. So he comes home, Broadway, the heart of Times Square, and we walk up to where Bilal is with all that traffic out there, and it was a culture shock for the brother from coming in isolation to come out with all the people, but it was great for him to be back home. And one of his greatest accomplishments that we have to follow through on now is that he was one of the original guards, and he was there through the whole time, where we worked on a plan to redevelop the Law School site around the corner. That was his passion at the end of his life. He wants to see a new building there and something befitting the legacy of law and justice that founded the force. So in closing, I just want to say what this brother means to me. A great mentor. I couldn't have a greater brother, a greater counselor to speak to and bounce things off of. He was always thoughtful in his replies and deep knowledge. So he's definitely going to be missed, but I agree. They could have a huge imprint. I just want to thank the family, first of all, for sharing it with all of us. And I know that's a sacrifice. But I also want to thank my brother, who was there with this brother for all the next years. So, when Alabi came home, he connected with Bilal. Bilal wanted to come up to Bill. And then there was another brother who did a mentoring Boy Scout program for me, who became with me, I should say, Klein, who was one of the superintendents of schools in Argasaway. If you brothers could come up and build that, that'd be great. Thank you.
We have Bilal graciously is going to allow Papoose to go before him because he has another engagement to go to. Papoose is one of Alabi's last students, his brother, and his friend. Peace.
Peace and love, y'all. I gotta say, my brother Alabi is probably the most intelligent person I ever met in my life. I met LRB before I even actually got a record deal or even made it into the industry. My mentor by the name of Born True, may he rest in power, he introduced me. Well, first and foremost, he said, I want you to meet my brother. He served 25 years for the babies. You know, great brother. And I had never heard, Born was a proud teacher, and I had never heard him speak about another man with such enthusiasm. And when he introduced me to Allah B, we started to develop our own relationship. And right after, not too short after he introduced us, because we was doing coalition. You know, Born had took us off the street, me and my cousin, may he rest in power. We were knuckleheads, he took us off the street and he had us doing coalition. We were shaping too. Anybody familiar with the construction ministry, you know how it goes. You know what I mean? Long story short, when he introduced me to Allah B, not too long after that, Born passed away. And the bond that myself and Allah B were able to build, it made me feel like Born did that on purpose. Because he knew I needed guidance. And he knew that Allah B was the brother to provide that for me in my life. Over the years, you know, I was able to make it into the music business. And me and Allah B would just always build. And you know, in the music industry, you got these people who, they think they know everything. So I would love when I had Allah B with me so he can shut them down. So you had this brother, man, and he was shooting off at the mouth about how great Donald Trump was, and you know, so I had Allah B with me this time, so you know my chest is poked out. I already know what's about to happen. So this brother going on, and Allah B questioned him. He said, what makes him so great? He said, well, you know, since the Trump administration been in office, black unemployment is down. I said, oh, Allah B about to let him have it. So Allah B responded, he said, what do you mean black unemployment is down? He said, the youth is unemployed. He said, one of the minimum requirements for a job is a high school diploma. 67% of our youth don't have high school diplomas. So not only are they unemployed, they're unemployable. So the brother sat there looking stupid, like I knew he was, and he just kept shooting off at the mouth, and you know, I don't know if you think I'm one of these Uncle Toms. Allah B said, what do you mean Uncle Tom? Tom was freeing slaves. Allah B said, I'm gonna need you to read a book, brother. Uncle Tom's Cabinet. He said, see, Tom was a brother who, you know, he knew how to manipulate the master and manipulate the master's wife. So anytime the master wanted to do something foul to the people, Tom would say, hey, you should do it this way, master. That way you won't look so, this will make you look good. And the master would listen to Tom. Allah B said, you know, they didn't want to give us that respect to call us Mr. or Master, not of course, so they called him Uncle. So he said, yo, you know, take your jive ass on over there. You know, Allah B was always calling somebody a jive turkey or something like that. So that's just one of my funnier moments with him. I remember not too long ago, maybe about 2 years ago or so, he was